TEAS Tuesday. Hello, hello, my loves. Oh, wait, where am I? Ooh. All right, guys. Giving you some time to get in to the room. All right, hello, hello. TEAS Tuesday. Okay, I am. All right, hello, everybody. Hey, Caribbean Haitian, what's up, what's up? Hello, hello. Yes, we are here for TEAS Tuesday, our weekly TEAS Tuesday ATI TEAS review. Okay, if you've never been here before, well, hello. If you've been here previously, welcome back. My name is Nurse Sam. I am the CEO and founder of Nurse Sam Global Media, where I help nursing students just like you survive and thrive nursing school and pass NCLEX to go on become amazing nurses that I know you guys can be. So, I started doing these weekly reviews Tuesday for the entrance exams for all of our aspiring nurses who have yet to take the TEAS, but you need to take the TEAS and pass the TEAS in order to get accepted into, or TEAS or HESI or whatever entrance exam, in order to get accepted into nursing school. So TEAS prep is just as important as HESI prep, not HESI, NCLEX prep, because TEAS is your entrance into nursing school and NCLEX is your exit. So both are very important tests. So on Tuesdays, I started doing our ATI TEAS reviews and calling it TEAS Tuesdays because it sounded a little bit like $2 Tuesdays, kind of. And then NCLEX, Jeopardy Thursdays, there's really no rhyme or reason to why that one was on Thursday. It just so happened to fall on Thursdays. So we do NCLEX review on Thursdays and then ATI TEAS here. Now, since this is our ATI TEAS review, I do want to let you guys know now that next week, Tuesday, so on the 29th, is our big NCLEX Jeopardy style, not NCLEX, is our big TEAS Jeopardy style review. Hey, Bill, Kay, and Ellis. Hey, hey, hey. So that's where we're going to have the blue screen. We're going to have our 5 categories. We're actually going to play ATI TEAS, but Jeopardy style, okay? Everybody's like on their own team, so it's like one man for themselves. So go ahead and go to the link in my bio after this, because I don't think you can do it while I'm on live. Go to the link in my bio, and you can sign up for next week's registration, because it won't be on Instagram Live. I'm going to say it one more time. TEAS Tuesday next week will not be on Instagram Live. It will be in our webinar room because we're playing our TEAS Tuesday Jeopardy style. We're playing for prizes and fun and bragging rights, pretty much. All right, so that's for next week. For this week, today, like I said last week, if you weren't here last week, we did biology. We did a lot of biology and a lot of anatomy. No, we did a lot of anatomy last week. So this week we are doing chemistry and biology. And I looked through it and I almost threw up. I hate chemistry so much. I hate chemistry so much. But we're going to learn to love chemistry, okay? We're going to wrap up that broccoli with something like chocolate. Okay, not wrap it in chocolate, but disguise it as chocolate. Something that we actually want, but we really don't want the broccoli, but we want the chocolate. So we don't want chemistry. So we're going to disguise it with something fun. Hence why we're going to do like our ATI TEAS Jeopardy next week to make it fun so that you can retain more of what you're actually studying. All right, someone said, awesome, awesome. Hey, birthday twin. Hey, 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 Autumn. All right, guys. So like I said, we are doing chemistry. A lot of people, I don't remember chemistry. I haven't done chemistry. I know. But this is going to be great practice, okay? Once again, the main benefit of coming here on TEAS Tuesdays that we are here to practice, look ugly, look awkward, answer questions wrong, because we are figuring out why we answered those questions wrong, okay? So the whole point of practice is to practice so we can get better, so that when it's time for the real performance, aka the TEAS, we're on it, okay? So IV therapy is kicking me backwards. Oh Lord, we gonna get on that, okay? All right, guys. So how are we going to do ATI TEAS Tuesdays? I'm going to read the question, gonna read the answer choices. You guys are going to answer in the comments, okay? And then we're gonna go over the rationale, try to figure out why we got it wrong, why we got it right, and apply that knowledge so that we can make sure that we actually comprehend the information. Okay, so hold on one second. All right. And all right, first question. All right, let me just make sure. Okay, so first question. What is the name of the scale used in sound level meters? Wait, is this chemistry or like physics? I don't know. But we're going to do it anyway. Oh, that wasn't the first question anyway. All right, sorry. Next, real question this time. Sorry. What is the total mechanical energy of a system? What is the total mechanical energy of a system? Is it A, the total potential energy, B, the total kinetic energy, C, kinetic energy plus potential energy, or D, kinetic energy minus potential energy? Hold on, wait for it. I'm switching laptop spaces and putting this one here. Wait for it. Okay. All right, I'm gonna read that one more time. If you are just coming in, welcome to TEAS Tuesday. We are doing our TEAS review. I'm going to read our question. We're doing like chemistry and physics and all the ugly chemistries and all the ugly sciences today. So what is the total mechanical energy of a system? Is it A, the total potential energy, B, the total kinetic energy, C, kinetic energy plus potential energy, or D, kinetic energy minus potential energy? What is the total mechanical energy of a system? That is a good one. All right, so let me see. I'm seeing some C's. I'm seeing a D. You guys want me to read it one more time? What is the total mechanical energy of a system? Is it A, the total potential energy, B, the total kinetic energy, C, kinetic energy plus potential energy, or D, kinetic energy minus potential energy? All right, so that correct answer, looking. Make sure you guys put your answers in the comments, okay? All right, this is an interactive review. We're not just watching, okay? We're gonna watch the replay, but while we're on our live, we're gonna be interactive and we're actually going to interact and engage with our review. That way you can actually retain more. Okay, so the correct answer is, drumroll please, C, kinetic energy plus potential energy. It says in any system, the total mechanical energy is the sum of the potential energy and the kinetic energy. All right, either value could be 0, but it still must be included in the total. Okay, so choices A and B, those just give it separately. A was the total potential energy, B was the total kinetic energy. So we can rule those out because those are individual factors of the total energy. All right, so the total energy is the sum of these two individual factors. So A was the total potential energy, and that was incorrect. B was the total kinetic energy, and that was incorrect. And then C was kinetic energy plus potential energy. All right, and that's going to give us our total mechanical. Okay, so if you need to think about it, for those that got that answer wrong, think about when it says total mechanical energy, you're thinking about the total amount of energy that can be put into force, aka the kinetic energy, and then the total amount of potential. So think of it like this: you have like actual plus potential, and that's going to give you your total mechanical energy. All right, so let's see who got C. Hold on one second. Sally Jimenez, great job. Kay and Ellis, great job. Caribbean Haitian, great job. Ronnie, Rachel, awesome. Great job. All right, so awesome job for all you guys that got that right. Kay and Ellis, great point. Think about a roller coaster. When it comes to like potential energy and kinetic energy, a great example would be to think of a roller coaster in its high points. Going up the roller coaster is the potential energy, and then going down is the kinetic. Okay, so the total energy for that roller coaster, okay, the mechanical system, the total mechanical roller coaster energy is the sum of the energy required for the roller coaster to go up and the total energy required for the roller coaster to go down. All right, so great job. Thank you, Kay and Ellis. That was a great point. All right, so next question. What does the Lewis dot structure of an element represent? What does the Lewis dot structure of an element represent? Is it A, the outer electron valence shell population? B, the inner electron valence shell population? C, the positioning of the element's protons? Or D, the positioning of the element's neutrons? What does the Lewis dot structure of an element represent? Is it A, the outer electron valence shell population? Is it B, the inner electron valence shell population? Is it C, the positioning of the element's protons? Or D, the positioning of the element's neutrons? All right, I see an A. Okay, now it says the number of electrons. But what answer would what letter does that translate into, Kay and Ellis? All right, so I'm seeing 3 A's so far. Looking like A is the popular answer. Gonna give you guys some time to answer, and then we're gonna review that. All right, so I'm seeing straight A's, okay? So, and that is the correct answer. A is the correct answer. The outer electron valence shell population. That is what the Lewis dot structure of an element represents. Okay, so rationale says a Lewis dot diagram shows the alignment of the valence or the outer shell electrons and how readily they can pair or bond with the valence shell electrons of other atoms to form a compound. So the Lewis, I'm going to show you guys what a Lewis dot structure is, just in case. Now, Lewis dot structure, that's throwback. I feel like it was college, but I feel like I haven't really seen Lewis dot structure since 2010. A smooth 2010, easy. Okay, so Lewis dot structures are the ones that like have the dots on the side, and they like have a single line, and it's usually going into something. Hold on, I'm about to show you guys right now. Wait for it. There we go. Yeah, so that's a, mind you, this element or whatever, I don't even know if that's real, so don't even try to figure out what it says. But I'm just trying to show you what a Lewis dot diagram is. You have the elements, and then you have the dots on the side, which are represented by, those are the electrons. And then these like lines, these singular lines, sometimes they're double, those are bonds. So this is a singular bond. If it was 2 lines, it'd be a double bond. And then the dots represent electrons. So that's the Lewis dot structure. So let me go back to where it was. All right, so it says choice B was incorrect because it said it was the inner electron valence shell population, and we know that it is the outer electron valence shell population. It says the positioning of protons and neutrons concerns the nucleus of the atom, which again would not lend information to the likelihood of bonding. So that's why 2, 3, and 4, or B, C, and D were the incorrect answers. Also, once again, a little trick for whenever you're going through your answer choices and you are in a bind. Whenever you have, most of the time, whenever you have opposite answers, for example, A was the outer electron valence shell and B was the inner electron valence shell population. most of the time when you have opposite answers, it's usually one of them. The correct answer choice is usually one of them. For example, if the question said, is the room, somebody turned the lights on, is the room dark or light, or C, I don't know. A would be the lights are on, B would be the lights are off. Those are opposite answers of each other. So you would know it had to be like one of those. So it would have to be one of the other. So that's one of the exam tips. You can use that for NCLEX, TEAS Tuesday, for the Cosmopolitan exam in your magazine. Usually when there's two opposite answers, it's usually one of them is correct, usually. Okay. All right. So next question. What is the name of the scale used in sound level meters to measure the intensity of sound waves? What is the name of the scale used in sound level meters to measure the intensity of sound waves? Is it A, Doppler, B, an electron, C, a watt, or D, a decibel? What is the name of the scale used in sound level meters to measure the intensity of sound waves? Okay. Is it A, Doppler scale, B, electron scale, C, a watt scale, or D, a decibel scale? What is the name of the scale used in sound level meters to measure the intensity of sound waves? All right. Hold on. Let me answer the way. Hold on. Let me see. I only took the TEAS once. Awesome. Those and dots are not cool. All right, so the correct answer is D. Someone said this is tricky, Nurse Sam. I know, it was tricky, but great job, Boot Nurse and Kay and Ellis. You guys got that one. Y'all saw through my tricks. Okay, the answer is D, decibel. The decibel scale is used to measure the intensity of sound waves. All right, so the decibel scale is a ratio of a particular sound's intensity to a standard value. So, little quick tip, it's also a logarithmic scale, so it's measured by a factor of 10. All right, so a decibel scale is used to measure the intensity of sound waves, and it's measured in factors of 10. Okay, so a Doppler, which was a lot of you guys' choices, which is perfectly fine. That's why we do TEAS Tuesday, so we can get all the answers wrong here, so that when we see this answer or see this question or something similar to this again on the TEAS, we won't get got. All right, so if you chose A was Doppler, and Doppler is the name of the effect experienced by an observer of a moving wave. Okay, so Dopplers, they don't measure the intensity of sound waves. They look at a moving wave. So think about Dopplers think about like a Doppler when you try to find a radial pulse. Okay, it's not going by sound. It's going by the moving waves, the moving rhythm of our pulse. So think about that for Doppler. All right. B, electron, that's a particle of an atom, so we know B was out. And then as far as watt goes, watt is the measurement of power. Okay, so just in case we get this question again, but it's maybe not asking us about decibel, maybe it's asking us about watt, maybe it's asking us about Doppler. So it's important that when you get these questions, you make sure you go through the other answer choices, like especially if you don't know what it is. And even if you think you know what it is, go through it anyway, just to make sure. Okay, so for example, in this question, out of Doppler, electron, watt, and decibel, the correct answer was decibel. However, just in case you didn't know what Doppler, electron, watt, any of those actually measured, and you want to look those up so you can see, okay, it doesn't measure the intensity of sound waves, but what does it measure? Just in case you get it again, formulate it a different way. So once again, decibel measures the intensity of sound waves. Doppler measures the moving waves. Electron is a particle of an atom, and then watt is used to measure power. Okay. Let me look and see what you guys are saying. Awesome job. H. Palad, Stephanie, Love is Fitness. I say y'all coming too. Awesome job. All right. Great job. Thank you guys. K&Ls is here with the with the examples for us. Thank you so much. Great job, everybody. All right, so next questiones. Which statement is true regarding electrostatic charges? Which statement is true regarding electrostatic charges? Is it A, like charges attract, B, like charges repel, C, like charges are neutral, or D, like charges neither attract nor repel? Yes, the boot nurse. I think about watts when it comes to that. That's the only, watts is what I knew because I see that on Georgia Power. Okay, I knew watts was power. All right, so let's read that question again. Which statement is true regarding electrostatic charges? Is it like charges attract, like charges repel, like charges are neutral, or like charges neither attract nor repel? All right, so we're trying to figure out the true statement about electrostatic charges. Let me see. I got a C and I got a B. All right, what do you guys think it is? I have a C, I have a B. Anybody else wanna answer? What do you think it is? Which statement is true regarding electrostatic charges? Nikita! You changed your name! Oh my gosh. I was like, who's K and Ellis? Nikita! We'll talk. All right, so which statement is true regarding electrostatic charges? The correct answer is B. Great job, guys. Let me see who got that. Unknown Beauty, Nikita, Golden Melanin, Queen BK, Miss Meek, Love is Fitness, and Lay Always Good. I almost said layaway. Lay Always Good. Awesome job, guys. So the correct answer was like charges repel. That is the true statement regarding electrostatic charges. So for charges, like charges repel each other and opposite charges attract each other. Okay? So I know you guys have heard opposites attract probably your literally entire life. Opposites attract. Whether it was dating, whether it was oil and water, not oil and water. That's opposites repel. Opposites attract. No, that's really relationships and like energy. But yeah, I know especially with like relationships and dating, you would always hear the term opposites attract, blah, blah, blah. That's when, you know, the good girl was always going for like the hood boy. And we'd be like, opposites attract, I just like them. Anyway, like charges repel each other and opposite charges attract each other. Negative and positives will attract, while two positive charges or two negative charges will repel each other. Okay, charges have an effect on each other. So choices D and C, which were like charges are neutral and that they neither attract nor repel. Those were out because they're going to either attract or repel. But like we said, for charges, like charges repel each other and opposite charges attract each other. A magnet, yes, magnets. So it sounds like a language arts teacher. Is that bad? Is that bad that I sound like a language arts teacher? I loved language arts. Actually, no, I didn't. I hated language arts. So yes, magnets. Perfect. Exactly. Think about magnets. What happens when you put two magnets together? It's that weird like resistance when you put two magnets together. And then opposites attract when you put it towards a piece of metal, it'll attract. All right, so great job. Two positive charges or two negative charges will repel each other. Okay, good. I'll be a language arts teacher then. Okay, so next question. What kind of energy do plants use in photosynthesis to create chemical energy? This is slick biology, but okay. What kind of energy do plants use in photosynthesis to create chemical energy? Is it A, light? Is it B, electric? Is it C, nuclear? Or is it D, cellular? What kind of energy do plants use? Trey said water, not Trey. What kind of energy, Trey? Now, what kind of substance do plants need? What kind of energy do plants use in photosynthesis to create a chemical energy? Is it A, light, B, electric, C, nuclear, or D, cellular? Nikita, you're cheating. You're a science teacher. Nikita is cheating. All right, so I'm getting lots of A's. The Bootno says, "What is A, Sam?" I'm glad you said you're starting practicing your NCLEX Jeopardy, your Jeopardy lingo, because next week you only get the answer right, and you only get the points if you use what is. You have to say what is in the answer. So right now we're just doing A, C, blah blah blah. But next week in the real thing, just because we're having fun, we're playing for prizes. It's gonna be what is, whatever the answer is, because it's gonna be Jeopardy style. All right. So the correct answer to this question was A, light. Awesome job. Let's see who got it. All right. So H. Palad, Love is Fitness, Jasmine, Queen BK, The Boot Nurse, Golden Melanin, Lay Always, Chelsea, Nikita, Miss Meek, Caribbean Haitian. All right, so great job, guys. A was the correct answer. It was light. Let's look at what the rationale says. It says photosynthesis is the process of converting light energy into chemical energy, which is then stored as sugar and other organic molecules. But okay, the photosynthetic process takes place in the thylakoids inside chloroplasts in plants. I did not know that before literally 2 seconds ago. So the photosynthetic process takes place in the thylakoids. It sounds like thyroid to me. So in my mind, the photosynthesis process is going to take place in the thyroid of the plant, which is the thylakoid inside the chloroplast. Chlorophyll, all right, is the green pigment that lives in the thylakoid. I don't know why I keep pointing to my thyroid, because I really think that the thylakoid is the thyroid of the plant. Okay. Chlorophyll is a green pigment that lives in the thylakoid membranes and absorbs photons from light. I was also today years old when I learned this. I was also thylakoid. I promise I'm not gonna forget it, because I made the correlation with the thyroid. Now I'm gonna always remember that now. So, correct answer once again was light. All right, photosynthesis, which takes place in the thylakoid, inside the chloroplasm, the chloroplast in the plants. All right, so that is the process of converting light energy into chemical energy. All right, great job. Great job, great job. I hate chemistry so much. Hey girl, hey. Black medical assistants do rock. Hey boo. Thank you so much. All right, next one. Which level of protein structure is defined by the folds and coils of the protein's polypeptide backbone? This is biology, thank God. So this is a mix between biology and chemistry. Now I got you with the biology. I was a microbiology minor, so I got you with the bio. Which level of protein structure is defined by the folds and coils of the protein's polypeptide backbone? Is it A, primary, B, secondary, C, tertiary, or D, quaternary? I feel like that was another word for, no, I'm thinking about tertiary, whatever. So, which level of protein structure is defined by the folds and coils of the protein's polypeptide backbone? Is it A, primary, B, secondary, C, tertiary, or D, quaternary? Quaternary. 4. Which level of protein structure is defined by the folds and coils of the protein's polypeptide backbone? Folds and coils is like the key phrase for me. That's how I remembered what it was. Is it A, primary, B, secondary, C, tertiary, or D, quaternary? I'm saying all B's, and that's correct. It is the B, secondary. Great job. So its correct answer is B, secondary. It says the secondary structure of a protein refers to the folds and coils that are formed by hydrogen bonding between the slightly charged atoms of the polypeptide backbone. So the primary structure is the sequence of amino acids, similar to like letters in a long word. So that's just a bunch of letters in a sequence. And then the secondary, like we said, is with the folding and the coiling of said sequence. The tertiary structure is the overall shape of the molecule that results from the interactions between the side chains that are linked to the polypeptide bonds. Okay, so tertiary structure, just think about like a shapeshifter. It's gonna be the overall shape. All right, and then the quaternary structure is the complete protein structure that occurs when a protein is made up of 2 or more polypeptide chains. Oh, you teach physics? Now, if it's one thing that I hate less than chemistry, it is physics. I took physics in 10th grade, I think. 10th. All right, so once again, know those protein structure levels. Know primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary. For this particular question, they asked us about secondary, but you can get a question where they can ask you about tertiary, they can ask you about primary. So quick little quiz. All right, so which one out of primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary, which one, let me see if you guys know, which one is the overall shape? Which one is the overall shape of the molecule that results from interactions of the side chain links of the polypeptide backbone? So which structure of a protein refers to the overall shape? We just talked about the secondary protein structure, which was defined by the folds and the coils. Now, which one is which protein structure level is the overall shape? Right, the shapeshifter. Awesome job. See, tertiary, correct. So remember, primary is the long sequence. So think of it as a name. Think of it as like a nameplate. You know, you remember those nameplates that we had in middle school? I never had one because I could never find one that said Samantha, even though Samantha's a very common name, but I could never find one that said Samantha. But yeah, think about just a name, just long letters in a name. That's the primary sequence. And then secondary, the folds and the coils. Tertiary is the overall shape, the shapeshifter. And then the quaternary structure, that's the complete finished product. Everything is done, and it's made of 2 or more polypeptide chains. Okay, so if it's in the quaternary section, it is done, one and done. Okay. Right. Awesome job, guys. Unknown Beauty, Jasmine, Chelsea. Love is Fitness. Great job. So I don't tutor one-on-one. This is basically my tutoring. This is how I can reach the most amount of people. So I do my tutoring sessions, and I do my like group tutoring sessions. So if I don't do them on live, if we want like more of an intimate like tutoring session, even if it's more on a group session, that's why next week we're going to the webinar space. That way I can actually, you guys can comment, you guys can talk to me in the emails if you need to, carry on the conversation. That's why we're going to our webinar. So yes, so any tutoring's mostly going to happen like in a group setting, unless I open up like a one-on-one, which I have done before. I've done like 45, I've done 20-minute and 45-minute Zoom tutoring sessions and study strategy implementation calls. So if you guys are interested in that, I can bring that back if you guys are interested. So just let me know. Wait, who teaches too? Yep, Boot Nurse also teaches. Make sure y'all follow him on YouTube. Follow me on YouTube as well, because I now have a YouTube. Let me see. Let me look at it. All right, Trey and Caribbean. It's not on Zoom. It's on Webinar Jam. I like Webinar Jam better. Awesome. Okay, let's go ahead and do another question. Oh, okay. This is a good one. I'm gonna read the sentence. Okay, this is the question. All right. This flower is dead. Someone must have forgotten to water it. This statement is an example of which of the following? Is it A, classification, B, an observation, C, an inference, or D, a collection? All right, so I'm going to read a statement and you guys got to figure out what that statement is an example of. Is it a classification, an observation, an inference, or a collection? All right, the statement is, the flower is dead. Someone must have forgotten to water it. Is that statement an example of a classification, an observation, an inference, or a collection? Thanks. All right. I'm gonna read the statement again, okay? This flower is dead. Someone must have forgotten to water it. Is that statement an example of a classification, an observation, an inference, or a collection? All right, so I am seeing lots of C's, which is an inference, and that is correct. Awesome job. Hold on, let me go ahead and read out. H. Palad, K and L, oh, Nikita, Unknown Beauty, Jasmine, Caribbean Haitian, Miss Meek, Selly, Love is Fitness, The Boot Nurse, Golden Melanin. Awesome job, guys. All right, so some people chose B, which was an observation. That was. I can see why you chose an observation, but this is why it's an inference. So an inference is a logical prediction of why an event occurred based on previous experiences or education. So because the statement was, this flower is dead, someone must have forgotten to water it. That someone must have forgotten to water it is them inferring why that flower must be dead. If they would have just said, this flower is dead, that would have just been an observation, because they're just stating what they observe. But not only did they just state what they observed, but they also inferred the reasoning as to why it was dead. So that's why it's an inference. They stated their observation and then made an inference about it based on previous experience or education. You know that if you do not water a plant, it'll die. So him saying, or he or she saying, someone must have forgotten to water it, is them inferring based on previous education and knowledge about what happens to plants or what happens to flowers when you don't water it. So that's the difference between an observation and an inference. It's okay. It's okay. Right, at least you answered. Because the only people that got it wrong was the ones that did not answer. You get 100% of the questions you do not answer wrong. All right? So, great job. But B and C were two good close ones. The only difference is you just need to know the difference between an observation and an inference. So you weren't too far off, but now we know if we get this again, you'll get it, okay? So, conversion, yikes. How many centimeters is 0.78 kilometers? How many centimeters is 0.78 kilometers. Is it A, 7.8 centimeters, B, 0.078 centimeters, C, 78,000 centimeters, or D, 780 centimeters? How many? Nikita said whelp, and the bootnet said a lot. Y'all remember that the video of the boy and he's reading the question and he's like, Julian broke, or whoever. How many centimeters is 0.78 kilometers? The boot nurse says a lot. Yes. Is it A, 7.8 centimeters, B, 0.078 centimeters, C, 78,000 centimeters, or D, 780 centimeters? Jaden broke. All right. So we're converting centimeters. Well, we're converting kilometers into centimeters. We have 0.78 kilometers, and we're trying to figure out how many centimeters does that equate to. So how many centimeters are in a kilometer? All right, centi, kilo. How many decimal points are we going to move that decimal, basically? So the correct answer was C, 78,000. 78,000. All right. So let me see who got C. Woo. Unknown Beauty. The Real Rita. Miss Meek. Love is Fitness. Great job. Okay, so yes, it was C. D was 780 centimeters. I'm going to show you guys why. You guys, not sure where okay, let's just go through it. So we got to convert. All right, so remember the prefix kilo means 1,000, and you know 1,000 has 3 zeros. Okay, so to convert kilometers to the primary unit, remember kilometers, centimeters, the common value is meters. All right, so centimeters, kilometers, or kilometers. So kilo is 1,000 of those meters. So that's why it's kilometer, 1,000 meters. Kilometer is 1,000, 3 zeros. So we know that in order to convert kilometers back to meters, we have to move that decimal point 3 units to the right. Okay. Now to get to centimeters, remember centi, the decimal point must be moved 2 places, because centi means 100. So centimeters, you have 100 meters. Okay. Shout out to the metric system. Right. Okay. So, yes, to get to centimeters, the decimal point must be moved an additional 2 places to the right. So remember, the first one was kilometers. That was 3 zeros, so 3 decimal places. The other one was centimeters, 100, or 2 zeros, which means 2 decimal places. So that 3 decimal places, the 2 decimal places, put it together, we got 5, 78,000. Does that make sense? Or you can do it just the regular conversion way. All right, you have 0.78 kilometers. You know you have 1,000 meters in a kilometer, 100 centimeters and a meter. Cross multiply, 78,000. What's the best way to learn the metric system? I did it's in my dosage calculations. Do I have that? I don't. But yeah, learning, what is it called? What's the analytic thing where you do it when it's one on top of the other? It's gonna bother me. Brain fart. Y'all help me. What am I trying to say? Of how you, I have to Google it because it's gonna bother me. What am I trying to say? The dimensional analysis. Thanks. Jeez, it was really going to bother me if I didn't get it. All right. So yes, dimensional analysis is a great way to learn how to do the metric system because it's all about conversions. So you need to know your basic measurements, like your meters, liters, because everything else, all the suffixes and the prefixes, which you need to know, that will help. that's going to add on, you know, your the prefixes are going to add on whatever it is to the main value. So that's why we had like the prefix centi for 100, and then the main value was meter, so centimeter. So knowing those prefixes and what they like the value and how to convert them, that's going to be the best way to learn the metric system. Dimensional analysis. Thank you. All right, so great job with that one. No, that was way too hard. All right. When considering anatomical direction, what is the position of the clavicle to the humerus? When considering anatomical direction, what is the position of the clavicle to the humerus? Is it A, lateral, B, medial, C, distal, or D, inferior? When considering anatomical direction, what is the position of the clavicle to the humerus? Is it A, lateral, B, medial, C, distal, or D, inferior? Oh, I'm seeing A's, B's, A's, B's. So remember, you're trying to describe the position of the clavicle to the humerus. Okay, it's either lateral, medial, distal, or inferior. All right, so I am seeing A's and B's. The correct answer is B. B for medial. Got that. H. Palad, Jasmine, Unknown Beauty, Miss Meek, the boot nurse. Great job. So yes, medial. The clavicle is medial to the humerus. All right. The position, well, let's think about anatomical directions. Let's think about that first. So they're referenced to midline. So that's when you think about anatomical direction, the reference point is midline. So if something is medial, it's towards the middle. If something is lateral, it's going away from, or yeah, it's going away from. Proximal and distal is to, actually, one second. I lied. I totally lied. Sorry, center is proximal. There we go. Towards the midline is proximal. Away from it is distal. I don't know what I was talking about, midline, lateral. So yeah, proximal and distal. So approximately, think about approximate. It sounds like close to. Approximate is close to. So if you're proximal in distance, you're approximately close to your midline. If something is distal, you know, relative to the midline point, if something is distal, it's a good distance. It's distant, so it's away from. Okay. It says, in anatomical position, the body stands erect with palms facing forward. The clavicle would be clearly medial, okay, towards the middle, and superior, which means above, to the humerus. Okay. Let me see. You can. Okay. All right. I can call you Heidi. I was just going based off of names. Hey, Heidi, nice to meet you. Boot Nurse says, best way to remember medial is the word middle, midline. Right. And lateral means going. Oh, so I was right. And lateral means going away from the middle. Correct. And another way to remember is distal means distant, right? Away from the heart. Proximal is closer to the heart. And like I said, with proximal, think about the word approximate. That's close. Okay. So great job. So yes, the clavicle, which is your collarbone, is medial and superior to your humerus. Okay. Your humerus. All right. So your humerus is more distant, and it is Lower. There we go. Sometimes for me, with anatomical position, I have to touch myself on my body. I'll be like, okay, clavicle, humerus. I'm a visual and kinesthetic learner to the bone. I'm for sure a visual and kinesthetic learner. I have to touch myself when I'm saying something. I have to visualize it. Like I'm all hands-on, touchy-feely, doodling and drawing in the corners of my textbooks. That's how I learn best. That's how I retain more because of my study style. So make sure you guys know your study style. If you're not a visual learner or kinesthetic learner, maybe you're like an auditory learner. You would probably benefit more from like videos and podcasts, stuff like that. So make sure you know your learning style in addition to, getting all these resources to help you study in nursing school, because you can buy up all the resources, all the study guides, the whole nurse section at Barnes and Noble. You can buy up all that. But if you do not know how to properly apply that information, or if you don't know how to properly apply the information, you won't retain any of it. So if you don't know the way you learn, everything that you won't be maximizing the information that you're learning, your ability to actually absorb the information and retain. Okay, so you have to study in a way that meshes well with what works for you, not for me, not for the boot nurse, not for Heidi. You have to do it for what works for you. So like the thing with the dicoloid or whatever, for me, that helped me remember saying something crazy and silly like that's the thyroid of the plant, the dicoloid or whatever it was called. That's how I study. That's how Nurse Sam studies, because Nurse Sam is silly and she relates everything to Disney and sexual innuendos. That's how Nurse Sam survived nursing school. But that's me. If that's you, awesome. We can exchange some really funny stuff. But if it's not you, you have to figure out what that is for you. What is your best way? Like I said, for me, comparing everything to Disney worked best for me. Maybe you're not a Disney fan. Maybe you like to compare stuff to Harry Potter. I don't know. Something. But you have to do what works for you, what you like. There was a guy in my nursing school who, obviously I did all the Disney stuff, but he wasn't that much into Disney. But he compared everything to like cars and dude stuff. I don't know. Cars and sports. He would compare it to sports all the time, and I would not know not one reference because I'm not a sports person. So I would not use sports a part of my study strategy. I would use Disney, not sports. So you see the difference? So know what works for you so that you can honestly survive and thrive in nursing school. Because once again, nobody's taking these tests, nobody's studying all these hours but you. So you have to figure out what works for you, even if it's not popular opinion, unpopular opinion, even if what works for you doesn't work for somebody else, or for what doesn't work for you work for somebody else. Dude stuff, right? So that's, let me look at you guys. Whoop whoop, kinesthetic hands-on learners. Some great podcasts to listen to. That's a great question. I don't know of any like educational ones. Like there's podcasts about like, like nurse lifestyle or nursing school life, stuff like that. But as far as like podcasts specifically dedicated to like study tips and stuff, I'm not sure. But I'm going to research that and I'll post that on my stories to see if there's, that's a good idea. Most of the time they just do it on YouTube though. So, if you can't find a podcast, your best bet would probably to go to YouTube and put on a video and just listen to it. So let me see. Ooh, Naturally Honey. I just sent one up for you. Prayers up. You got this. Take the rest of the night off. Go watch a funny movie. Y'all know the night before the NCLEX, I tell y'all to go get a massage, go drink some wine, do whatever you need to do to relax and just be at peace. You have done your due diligence. You have studied. You have passed and graduated from nursing school. This is your last step. No pressure, but a little bit of pressure. But you have been doing this and you've prepared for this for at least 1 to 4 years. I'm not sure, but at least 1 to 4 years. So now this is your time to shine. Breathe, get a nice night's rest. Wake up in the morning, if you even sleep. I did not sleep the night before my NCLEX. Wake up in the morning, get something small on your stomach, and go kill it. And then in like 2 days, I'm expecting to go into my DMs and be like, Nurse Sam, I passed. I'm expecting to see a pass from Naturally Honey because she's gonna pass. Awesome. Oh, boom, the boot nurse right there. Love is Fitness. Straight A nursing. Oh, nice, great. So straight A nursing. That's a podcast for nursing tips. I didn't know if it was just study tips or just like nursing school like advice. But I do know that is a podcast. But depending on what you guys want. The real question is how you retain that info. Use something that is relatable in your flourish. Exactly. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and do one more question. I think we're back into anatomy because these are anatomy stuff. This is anatomy questions. All right, so let's do. Oh, okay, here's one. A scientist is trying to determine how much poison will kill a rat the fastest. Which of the following statements is an example of an appropriate hypothesis? A. Rats that are given lots of poison seem to die quickly. B. Does the amount of poison affect how quickly the rat dies? C. The more poison a rat is given, the quicker it will die. Or D. Poison is fatal to rats. All right, I'm going to read that question. This is our last question for TEAS Tuesday for this week. Replay will be put up on my YouTube channel. A scientist is trying to determine how much poison will kill a rat the fastest. Which of the following statements is an example of an appropriate hypothesis? Is it A, rats that are given lots of poison seem to die quickly? B, does the amount of poison affect how quickly the rat dies? C, the more poison a rat is given, the quicker it will die. Or D, the poison is fatal to rats. All right, so I'm seeing C's. Yeah. All right, does anybody else have any other answer but C? All right, so I'm seeing all C's, and that is the correct answer. Great job, guys. So the more poison a rat is given, the quicker it will die. That is an appropriate hypothesis. So what is a hypothesis? A hypothesis is a statement that makes a prediction between two variables. All right, the two variables in this particular question are the amount of poison and how quickly the rat dies. So, so once again, since we have that prediction between those two variables, C was the correct answer. C was the more poison a rat is given, the quicker it will die. I'm not sure if this changed, but I learned that a hypothesis was like an if-then statement. Did y'all learn that? Did y'all learn that hypotheses were like if-then statements? Or have I just been out of school too long? Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's if-then statements, but the actual words of if and then don't have to be in there. So So for example, C, the correct answer was the more poison a rat is given, the quicker it will die. The words if and then were not in there, but the sentence would still work if you put those words in there. If a rat is given more poison, then it will die quicker. The boot nerd, I didn't know that until just now. So yes, that's how I remembered if then statement hypothesis. It had to be in a if then it had to be worded like an if then statement, and then it had to be a prediction between those two variables. So like I said, even though C didn't have that if then, it's still formulated in a way that's an if then statement. Like if something happens, then this will happen. It's a relation. It depends on the relationship. Yeah, it's like a dependent variable and an independent variable. That's what it's coming back slowly, you know? Right. You try reading it if try reading the question in if and then statements. And then see if it makes sense. Right. Oh, okay, I lied. One more question, because this actually feeds into this question and actually is piggybacks off of what I literally just said. The question is, in testing how quickly a rat dies by the amount of poison it eats, which of the following is the independent variable and which is the dependent variable? All right, A says how quickly the rat dies is the independent variable and the amount of poison is the dependent variable. B says the amount of poison is the independent variable and how quickly the rat dies is the dependent variable. C says whether the rat eats the poison is the independent variable and how quickly the rat dies is the dependent variable. I have no idea why my voice squeaked and went high that just a couple seconds ago. I have no idea. And then D says the cage the rat is kept in is the independent variable and the amount of poison is the dependent variable. Woo! Whew. All right, so we're trying to figure out the independent variable and the dependent variable with in testing how quickly a rat dies by the amount of poison it eats. Okay, so that pretty much tells us what it is, right? That's our experiment. Okay, how quickly a rat dies by the amount of poison it eats, based off of those variables that it just gave you. Which one is the independent variable and which is the dependent variable? In testing how quickly a rat dies by the amount of poison it eats, what's the independent and what's the dependent variable? Okay, so A says how quickly the rat dies is independent and the amount of poison is the dependent variable. B says the amount of poison is the independent variable and how quickly the rat dies is the dependent variable. Hey boo, hey Tiff. C says whether the rat eats the poison is the independent variable and how quickly the rat dies is the dependent variable. And then the last one is the cage the rat is kept in is the independent variable and the amount of poison is the dependent variable. Okay, so Sally says B, and that is the correct answer. It's B. The amount of poison is the independent variable, and how quickly the rat eats or how quickly the rat dies is the dependent variable. Okay, so great job, Sally. Jasmine, yeah, it was B. All right, so remember, independent variable, dependent variable. The independent variable is the variable that's manipulated, and the dependent variable is the result of the changes in the independent variable. So I'm trying to remember an easier way to remember independent versus dependent. The dependent variable depends on the results of the independent, if that makes sense. So once again, taking that with what we with our experiment, I guess, about the poison in the rats, the amount of poison is the independent variable. So remember, the independent variable is the one that's being manipulated. So that's the one that's, usually being tested. You have different various like amounts of the poison, because that's the variable that we're testing. We're testing the amount to, and that's what's being manipulated. Okay, so independent variables are the manipulated variables. And then the dependent variable, once again, depends on the results of the independent. So for us, how quickly the rat dies is the dependent variable. So how quickly the rat dies depends on the amount of poison that it ingested. So that's another way of thinking about which one's independent, which one's dependent. The dependent has to depend on the independent, and you can kind of rephrase it in a sentence so you kind of see if it makes sense. For example, this one I would rephrase it just to make sure that it all made sense as I read it along. How quickly the rat dies depends on the amount of poison the rat gets. So that means how quickly is since how quickly depends, how quickly is the dependent variable, and then the amount of poison is the independent variable. Does that make sense? That's how I had to, that's an example of me starting from like the top, explaining how I got to that conclusion from the beginning to the end. My thought process and how I broke that down and trying to remember what independent versus dependent variable is. If that helped you, go ahead and adopt it. If you had another way that actually worked for you, then great. But if you didn't and you struggled with knowing independent versus dependent variable, then go ahead and for anything that you don't know or maybe you're not as confident about, I always make like a little note. I have a notebook, or I had a notebook when I was studying. So whenever I would do these questions, my 60 questions or however many questions a day, I would write down all the questions that I got wrong. I would write down like the content area, or write down if it was a specific medication that I didn't know, if it was, a word I didn't know, or a specific thing that I just didn't know or I wanted to brush up on, I would write it down. So for me, if I was studying for the TEAS after tonight's session, I would write chemistry in big letters, but I would write down independent and dependent and put a star next to it, just so I can make sure that I really have that down and comprehend it, because I have it if I think about it really hard. But when you're actually taking the TEAS, it is a time test, so you want to make sure you're getting as comfortable with the content and information as possible, and you won't really get to that point unless you continuously practice and expose yourself to the information, because at some point it repeats. The questions won't repeat, but the content repeats. You've learned all this stuff already before. This is all comprehensive stuff that you've learned from like grade school. So a lot of this is kind of like just brushing off the dust webs of our old ancient knowledge from 4th grade or 7th grade geometry. And that's really the challenging part of the TEAS test. It's not the level of intensity, or not the difficulty of the exam. It's not like it's rocket science, as people would say, but it's just the fact that it is a comprehensive exam, and you're literally trying to remember everything that you've learned up to this point, no matter how small and insignificant. If you learned it in grade school, it's gonna probably be tested on it. That's the whole point of like these comprehensive exams. So like the TEAS is basically SAT, ACT, but for nursing school. Like it's that same comprehensive test, just to make sure that you are competent. That's all the TEAS and HESI and entrance exams are, competency tests. They're just making sure that you know what 1 + 1 = 2 is. That's really that's really the point of these entrance exams. Okay, so while they are scary and seemingly challenging because of the amount of information that you have to remember. And sometimes it can be scary because you're like, I don't remember anything from language arts in 10th grade. That can be scary and that can be overwhelming. But once again, you've learned this stuff already. So it's not like you have to relearn it. You're just reviewing it. So the best way to review information that you've learned already is to expose yourself to the information in the form of questions, video. Expose yourself to the content. So switch up the delivery of the content. That's why I started doing my study guides in my crazy creative ways, because of the delivery of the content. Okay, so make sure, hold on, I'm going back. I was reading that. Dimensional analysis, I'll never forget it. But yeah, make sure that you are reviewing the stuff that you review, the content and the questions that you answered incorrectly as well as correctly. Because sometimes, even though you did get it correctly, whether it was like a guess or not, or maybe you just got it right by chance. If you know you didn't get a question correct because you genuinely knew the answer, write it down and review it. There's no harm, no foul. There's nothing wrong with studying more, okay? But poor performance or proper preparation prevents poor performance. And my number one and best tip of how to prepare for the ATI TEAS is to expose yourself to the information repeatedly and focus on your weak areas. So don't just take test after test after test after test and not really analyze your progress. Start with one good test. Don't study, don't do anything. Start with one pre-test. Take a full test, time it, everything. Don't have any books open. Really act like, if I were to take the TEAS right here today, right now, what would I get? How would I score? How would I feel? Take that test as if you're really taking the TEAS and see how you do on that exam. Use that as your baseline and a good benchmark for, what areas you need to improve on. What was your score for reading, math, science? Look at those scores. And if you don't have like a 70% or, create a benchmark for yourself. If you don't have a good passing grade, you have to study that content a little bit more. So that's a good little basic study strategy. I'm going to be getting into specific study strategies for both NCLEX and TEAS in the next couple weeks. So I'll be putting up like a sample one so that you can kind of adopt that. A lot of people say they don't know where to start when they're studying for the NCLEX or the TEAS. They don't know where to start or how to study. So in the next coming weeks, we will be going through that, and I'll be showing you guys exactly how to create a study strategy for your specific learning style. And then we'll be continuing to do our fun TEAS practices here on Instagram Live and in our webinar next week. All right, so thank you guys so much for coming this week. All right, like I said, this is going to be saved and uploaded to my YouTube. I sure will. So this is going to be uploaded to my YouTube. And like I said, for next week's TEAS Tuesday, it's going to be our big Jeopardy style prizes fun. Okay, it's going to be next Tuesday at 7 p.m. It will not be on Instagram Live. Go into the link in my bio and hit register for the ATI TEAS Jeopardy for the 29th. Yeah, for the 29th. It's 100% free. 100% free. Okay, it's a free ATI TEAS review. If you want to purchase my study guides, you can spin the wheel of discounts. You can get up to 50% off if you land on a 50%. Or just because you guys are here with me in TEAS Tuesdays, if you don't want to take that chance and you want to definitely get that, well, I'm definitely going to give you guys the 50% discount for being on here. So the code for 50% off any study kit that you guys want is freedom50. Wait, no, it's not. I lied. Hold on. What is it? Is it win? Yeah, it's win 50. All right, so for my thank you for coming on and joining me for TEAS Tuesday, please go ahead and enjoy 50% off your next study bar purchase using code WIN50, WIN50 for 50% off whatever study bar, product, bundle, kit you would like. Okay, so go to the link in my bio and use code WIN50 for 50% off as my thank you for being here with me for TEAS Tuesday. Oh my gosh, and I'm gonna get off live, but in the next hour or so, go to my story, check out my story, because I am going to be showing you guys the sneak peek to the long-awaited reading ATI's reading study kit. I know it's been such a long time coming. Don't judge me. I've been struggling mentally. That's a TikTok. Anyway, all caps. Oh, it doesn't matter if it's all caps. Yeah, it really doesn't matter if it's all caps, to be honest. So yeah, just win 50. Win 50. Yes, the ATI's reading study kit. Finally, I'll be letting you guys see a sneak peek of that. And then later on this week, I should have a definite, either the pre-order will be up, it will be up, or I will have a definite date for you guys. But yay, I'm so excited. It is finally here and it is amazing. Listen, as far as like my creativity goes, before it was going to be like magazine themed, and I showed you guys a sneak peek of what it was going to be before, but the way my creativity goes, if I look at something I don't like it, I will change it, and I changed it. So I love this theme much more, and so will you guys. So make sure you go to my stories so you guys can see a sneak peek of the ATI's reading, our final installment. It's the reading and English language usage as well. So it's, you know, the reading and the English mixed into one. Okay, so excited. Thank you guys so much for being here with me for TEAS Tuesday, and I will see you next week.